Hey, this is Amethyst Goddess from In Alignment Ministries, and I wanted to share a very personal story that I hope will help someone else. Yesterday, I just so happened to go on my Facebook page. And then if anyone knows me, I detest Facebook. Most of the time it's deactivated. But I just felt like going on there. And lo and behold, a person that was very dear to me, I found out that they transitioned. And it really had me to evaluate my relationships, specifically women. And I realized a lot of us, including myself, really do not know how to identify with other women. We mimic or imitate what we've been taught, what we've learned through behaviors, responses, and some of those responses are connected to trauma. All the way stemming back to our childhood. And then we pick up things along the way, all the way up to our adulthood that kind of sticks because it confirms relationship patterns that we've experienced from the past. So either we think it's okay to act the way that we do, or behave or react, or we just don't know what to do. And we just do our safest and easiest way with as less impact as possible. And that may not always be healthy. Throughout my relationships, I've always tried to communicate a sense of honesty, integrity, loyalty, compassion. I was always considered the mother of the group, of whatever group I was in. I wouldn't mind sacrificing myself and my ego if it meant to salvage a relationship or to help someone. And sometimes that was not good. As a matter of fact, a lot of it wasn't. With the situation of the person that has recently transitioned, a few weeks prior, I decided to go on their page. And I always get inspired, but I didn't see anything recent, so I just figured it was because I hadn't been on there in a while, and I probably had to scroll through to find whatever. And just being real, Facebook is overwhelming. There's too many posts, too many ads everywhere, too many alerts. Especially being the fact that I hadn't been on there. And I was like, you know what, they're probably working. They're busy. Because I knew that this particular person worked their butt off. And they had a family. And probably Facebook wasn't priority. now to like look at how it is now, to know that they're no longer physically here. I cried. I'm still crying. And not necessarily for them, because they're no longer in pain. They're no longer here. You know, this physical earth, this earth dwelling, there's a lot of pressure and there's a lot of density within this space. There's a lot of pressure in this earth. So that part is not that as far as mourning them per se. It's the domino effect of thereafter. If they have family members that are here, how will they handle it? Did they transition in peace? Was there any pain? And then realizing just how precious life is. Where it's like, dang. They're no longer physically here. Now, I've heard about a lot of people transitioning that I knew even recently, but this one really hit me. Again, it had me to evaluate the relationships that I had with women. And I realized I didn't really have a sisterhood. I didn't even know what that looked like. All I knew was if there were expectations of me being loyal, I would be. If there was expectations of being a shoulder to cry on or a favor, I would be present. That's all I knew. And if I felt safe, I didn't mind looking stupid or foolish. And even thinking about feeling stupid or foolish is not good if you think about it. But I would be willing to look silly if I could salvage a relationship. I wouldn't mind putting my pride aside for that. But as I got older, I realized a lot of the relationships that I had with women, there was frenemy situations. People that I thought were my friends weren't really my friends. And even if they said, I got you, you need anything, I always felt like it came with a price. And even if I admitted that or not admitted that, later down the road it always was confirmed that that's in fact what it was. I would pay for it. Of course, you can hear the noise in the background. I didn't want to use my microphone. I just wanted to go straight into my voice memo. So I hope that didn't startle you as far as the noise in the background. But this particular person was a girl's girl. She was the bomb. She was. So looking at my relationships, even stemming from my mother had raised me the best way that she could. She did all that she possibly could to raise me. And I felt like when I really started to blossom, in the person that she wanted me to be, and I actually exceeded even those expectations. In a sense, it was like me growing as this beautiful rose, and in spite of the thorns and the weeds and some of the soil that wasn't the right soil, and how I was still able to be this big blooming rose. It was an amazing thing to see. But in that instance, even though your mother may actually feel proud or amazed of your growth and how you've blossomed, sometimes it can be challenging for them to behold that beauty, because sometimes they see a glimpse of themselves and what they could have had, even though it's not too late, but subconsciously they do feel like it is. They admire your beauty, and not necessarily physical. And sometimes that can brew jealousy, not realizing the beauty that they have. And then you grow up into adulthood, and it's almost like you can't really relate to other women in a sense, because at times women don't get vulnerable enough unless it's for the gram, to market a product or some kind of storyline for reality TV. We have a lot of resources that say, hey, this is for women, this is a safe space. Come to this brunch, come to this gathering, and you don't feel the love. You don't feel the connectedness. You don't feel the vulnerability. And so, just being real, after some time, I just shut everyone out. where there were no intimate connections as far as women, I established some boundaries enough so I can get myself adjusted to better understand myself, better understand really just understand myself. Because I understood people. I think I've kind of mastered that and not even being arrogant or anything like that. But I read people well and not even trying to be on some other stuff, but really it's just something natural for me. So I wanted to better understand myself because I realized that when I came into this world, I was really open. I wanted to learn everything. I wanted to experiment. I wanted to be free. I wanted to be a star. I wanted to be celebrated. I felt like one day I was going to be someone well known. I felt like I was multi-talented and gifted. Like, who wouldn't love me? And through conditioning, I began to dim my light. I began to second guess myself, my worth, my value, just my overall being. Not even trusting my intuition, not even being able to act on my intuition because I would hear things and get things confirmed within me. But if you're dealing with some people that won't admit it or confirm it, then it's like, well, maybe I'm paranoid. Or maybe I was wrong, and give people extra chances. And this all is combined in the message that I'm sharing, that knowing, that divine intuition is something that women possess that is so deep. We may not have a logical explanation for it. We just have this feeling, and it's further confirmed through action, people's actions, people's behaviors and patterns or whatever. And we disconnect from that through conditioning, whether it's relationships with men, love relationships, our parents, how we were raised, through our teenage years, and we lose sight of the strength of a woman. And we in turn think that the strength of the woman has to be always on goal, on a high protective, high reactive scale versus just having that power that exudes stability, authority, and commands attention. And it doesn't have to be so brash and so aggressive. We're learning how to be in harmony with ourselves. We have to re-trust ourselves, re-fall in love with ourselves, because I really believe when we first came here, we loved ourselves. And we didn't have to have examples of why we love ourselves. We just did. We thought that we were the bomb. We thought we could sing. We thought we could dance. We thought we could draw. We can act. We could create inventions. It is until adults that represented gods to us. They were like the representation of God, the adults in our lives, whether it's our parents, our guardians. And until they actually validated it or invalidated it, we were fine. So it's a thing where you have to reconstruct your relationship with yourself. To work on the harmony within yourself. Because you can't go seeking it outwardly until you first deal with what is going on in the inward. And usually when you're seeking out for validation, for acceptance, for sisterhood, there is a disharmony within yourself. Whether it's not understanding your emotions, not understanding why you're not accepted, why you don't accept yourself. Disregarding the softer sides of yourself. It's time to dismantle all the labels, all the titles, all the definitions of what divine feminine is, what sisterhood is. And first establish a relationship with oneself. What does harmony look like within myself? How can I be a sister to myself? How can I mother myself? How can I show up for myself? So when I began to really establish that within myself, then I felt like I could reintroduce myself to the world, to women, in a healthy manner, evaluating even the times where I thought maybe I was doing the best I can as far as showing up for people, specifically women, and how I missed the mark, and being able to accept that and take accountability for my actions on that. And understanding that I can't be everything for everyone. Something that I tried so hard. I wanted to be the rescuer. I wanted to be the best friend. I wanted to be the sister. I wanted that so bad because I didn't have that. I was teased a lot growing up, and I know a lot of us have been. I was the weirdo. I was the beautiful one and didn't recognize it. And I actually believe those people that said so many mean and nasty things to me. I began to believe that. So I had to remove all of those lies, get rid of all those lies, and realize that none of that stuff was true. I had to reconnect with God, source energy. I had to clear away the things that were in my crown, my third eye, my perception, how I saw myself, how I related with God energy. Because let me tell you, if you have an issue with how you see yourself, you have an issue with how you see God. There is a disconnect. Then I always think about that scripture that says, greater is he that is within me than he that is within the world. And thinking about how I am God. I am that representation here on earth. How can I look outwardly from myself and desire and expect certain things if I don't require and expect that within myself? The best way to show a person how to treat you is how you treat yourself. That awareness that I've developed over time has allowed me to re-love myself. And to surrender to the process of the people that came in my life to show me what I needed to work on. Yes, there is sadness still there. That will take a while for me to deal with, but I am happy that I was able to experience that individual. They were like a sister. I may not have seen them all the time, talked to them all the time, but whenever they were there, they were really there. And they didn't change for anyone. What you see is what you get. And I find at times that sometimes we change ourselves and put on facades to show up for other individuals. We put these certain capes on to rescue everybody else but ourselves. So I just wanted to share that. I hope you were able to see that you're not alone. When it comes to reparenting ourselves, especially remothering ourselves, it goes deep. It goes really deep. And especially if you have children, especially if you have daughters. The amount of patience and unconditional love that it takes for that process. It takes a lot of reflection on your part to be a really good mother. It takes you putting your feet in their shoes on what that used to feel like. What would that be like for you? If you were to do that to them, how would that would make you feel if you were in that same position on the receiving end? If someone talked to you the way that you talked to them, you know, how would you feel or whatever? So I'm thankful. I'm thankful for this Cancer new moon. I'm thankful for Cancer season. I'm thankful for the uncomfortable feelings that I have right now. I'm thankful for that beautiful individual that I was able to experience for the time that she was here. And I'm thankful for her family. And I'm thankful for life. I'm thankful that I push past the feelings of wanting to go down a road of what happened to me, what transpired, as far as certain relationships, that I was able to move past that to see the bigger picture, to not getting caught up with he said, she said, they did to me, and I didn't like that, and just going down that whole road. It's like, forget all that. To move past all of that and to see the bigger picture. And to surrender to that. To acknowledge and accept that. I'm happy that I got myself out of the way in a lot of ways that I was thinking about my past. And those hurts came up to the surface of how I didn't really have certain friendships that I desired. That I was able to push past through all that, to acknowledge it, to accept it, and to see it for what it is. But not to dwell on it to the point where not only I get in my own way, but I get in the way of helping other women feel like they have a support. When you get caught up in your stuff, you can't help no one else. You can't even see that. And even if you think you're helping someone, you're actually making it worse. So thank you. Thank you to myself. Thank you for being aware enough to seek my higher self and involve my higher self into my life. To integrate that energy. A lot of us need to call on our higher selves to intervene on our behalf. Because sometimes when we are in our ego or in our lower self, and I don't have another word for it, but our shadow self or what have you, we tend to act in a way to protect ourselves, but it's really doing a disservice. The shadow has its place, but in some instances, it is good to tap into your higher self. You know how back in the day when everybody had bracelets that said, "What would Jesus do?" Okay? So tap into that higher consciousness, that higher level of being, that higher vibration, and say, what would my higher self do? And you can tap into Christ consciousness as well, because it is available. And that means, it does not mean to be a sucker. It does not mean to allow people to play with you. That is not what that means. And only you will know what that means when you call on that energy. When you call the energy within yourself to show up for you and make itself clear to you. That's accountability. That's awareness. And that's also harmony. So that's all I have for you. I love you. Again, this is Amethyst Goddess from In Alignment Ministries. Be well. Take care.